Draft pod, baby. We're doing it. Hank was just imitating me. Anyways, lots of lottery talk with the NBA draft. So we're going to get into what that would look like with the NFL. Then we're doing all our position previews. So we're going to get into this running back class that the AFC West went heavy on, starting now. DNVR Draft Pod live from the Toyota Lounge in downtown Denver on the corner of Colfax and York, right above the DNVR bar. It's the Draft Pod. We're doing it, as apparently I like to say. Hank was imitating off camera how I do the intro before getting going, and it was electric. I loved it so much. I hope that one day you can open up the show like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always been a great start. There was that one time.
Thanks, buddy.
What was it, a few weeks ago where I nailed we're doing it the same time you did? That's one of my proudest moments on this show.
That was electric.
We're doing it.
So Hank is back from a glorious vacation. He's going to give us a breakdown of that.
Oh, good.
The Schwan man is here. The oak tree of this show.
Wow.
Reliable, providing shade, providing warmth, providing oxygen to what it is we do here at the Draft Pod. Incredible. We, of course, are driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. We've got the legend Alyssa Marie on the ones and twos. And yeah, I really enjoyed the pod last week, getting into the wide receiver and cornerback class, takeaways from how the actual draft order panned out compared to our kind of pre-draft orders and all that. So we're doing it again with running backs, which I'm very excited to do. But first, it's kind of like the hot topic du jour. You know what that means?
It's our French Dre of the day.
Very so good. You know ball, man.
At least French.
And this NBA draft lottery. Once again, though, it's weird that this is even a topic because all the commentary on the NBA draft lottery is that it was rigged.
Yeah.
Also, I'm so triggered by all these graphics that show everyone who won the lottery after their team was forced to trade away a superstar.
Yeah.
And then I think the Nuggets, when Mutombo left in free agency, didn't win the lottery, and the Nuggets, when Melo forced his way out of town, didn't win the lottery. Like, when will we get our comeuppance?
Yeah. We need some comeuppance.
But then as the cycle died down with the rigged, then the morning sports shows decided to make it a topic of conversation that the NFL could adjust and have a draft lottery themselves.
Yeah.
And so we can have fun looking at how the last couple of drafts would have looked if a draft lottery had been enacted rather than the normal order. Just talk through some takes as I see the Schwan man shaking his head vehemently that this would be
it's the dumbest idea of all time.
Yeah?
The NFL is the best league in America because it has the most parity. Because we don't need a draft lottery. How many times have you seen teams draft a quarterback in the top 1, 2, 3 picks and immediately overnight? The Houston Texans, look at what the Carolina Panthers did at the end of last season. The Broncos, after taking Bo Nix 11 last season. The NBA, the reason people talk about the NBA is because of this stuff, because the on-court product is not as good as the on-field product in the NFL. It's not even close. So the NFL, if you're taking notes from the NBA, you're doing it wrong because you're already beating them in every single category. You do not need to be more like the NBA.
Yeah, to go back to the beginning, it started with a really dumb conversation and then just got dumber from there. As is what often happens in the NBA. Like that's kind of what their whole shtick is like we show up, we say something stupid, and then 3 days later, somehow one stupid thing is ballooned into so many different stupid things that are happening.
They do love their takes extra hot.
They
Caliente,
really
as
do.
They would say.
And some of us would
where you just came from.
Yeah, or estupido, as they would say down there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, the draft lottery being rigged. No, it's not. Because guess what? That's fraud. And Adam Silver on his last contract, I don't think has any interest in going to, at least risking prison in exchange for, helping Nico Harrison not look so dumb. They have like whatever big accounting firm. I don't know the names. The accountant nerds in the chat might know.
Sure,
but they're like, their job is to not that happen. Again, like, it's a multi-billion-dollar company that's just like, oh, nope, you're not here anymore because you decided to rig this. Like, it is not rigged because, again, risking prison time with that level of fraud. So, stupid from the tip of the iceberg. And then you get to the stupider part, which is should the NFL do this? Which, as you said, again, when you're starting with, wow, this really isn't working, should the NFL copy it? That's kind of a dumb starting point. And my big thought with the whole thing is just that the NFL draft is the best draft in sports.
100%.
Beyond
dude.
that, it's one of the best events in sports. Like, show me what the NBA Finals ratings are versus the NFL draft.
Facts.
Like, I would imagine the NFL draft outperforms the NBA Finals. Like, that's just the world we live in. And
It's a big deal.
so if you're going to make a change to the NFL draft, first of all, I'm going to be pretty resistant, but you better have a really, really good idea where you're just like, you know what? We have something good. We can take this risk to try to improve it. And something this stupid, of course, is not worth that.
Yeah. I mean, geez, I'm frustrated the MLB has adopted this ridiculous lottery. And for example, the Rockies, who are in the midst of this horrible season, and not for lack of trying. I mean, their issue isn't trying. It's actual incompetence.
Execution.
But I mean, because of the spot they're in and because of how the MLB lottery is set up, the Rockies won't. The highest pick they can have this season is the 10th pick.
Yep.
So the one,
Why?
You can
Well,
only
because the
have
lottery's like this.
3 years in a row that you're allowed to be up at the top.
In the
and then
top
they say
10.
like we can't just keep giving you the best players.
That's how they.
which is stupid.
So then why are they surprised that the Rockies keep sucking then?
Well, I mean, they've sucked in lieu of the old rules,
Yes.
which is what allowed like the Royals and the Astros.
So then
to
the lottery
become
doesn't matter
juggernauts.
then.
It doesn't matter. And now
Yeah.
they're switching to the lottery. And yeah, it's really more. And I mean, it's like Jake said, it's in the NFL draft. Look at the top guys. So many of those guys weren't the top pick.
Yeah.
And the quarterbacks are a great example. But I even think of like the best offensive tackles of the last two generations. Tyron Smith, the left tackle. For the Cowboys, then there's the other Tyron Smith for the Saints, right? Tyron Smith for the Saints is a third-round developmental tackle. Tyron Smith for the Cowboys is like the 12th pick in that glorious draft that had Von Miller and Cam Newton and
Pete.
AJ Green, Julio Jones, Marcel Darius, but he's irrelevant. TJ Watt. I mean,
Pete.
all those guys are in the top 12. Patrick Peterson. I didn't know what you were referring to when you were just saying Pat
And
Pete.
JJ Watt, not.
It's like, that must be like a popular TikTok term or something. I must not be up on my Pat Pete's. Figured he was someone who did content with the Rizzler or something, Pat Pete just threw it out there like, oh, yeah, I know what that is.
He's got a Twitch. Pat Pete.
Yeah, right. I saw his Twitch stream yesterday. Electric. Love Pat Pete. His
He had some
content's so funny.
Interesting thoughts about Kanye. Pat Pete.
Wow.
That's what those people do.
Alden Smith also in the top 12. But yeah, Ed Jordan, or I'm sorry, who's the... I'm blanking. I had it and I'm blanking. The left tackle for the Eagles, Australian. Mailata is a
Yes.
7th rounder.
Yep.
Best tackle of his generation. Trent Williams then is the 4th overall pick. The quarterbacks, you can go down the list. Like, yes, Burrow's been awesome. Mahomes, Josh Allen, all like the 3rd quarterbacks taken in their class. I mean, Bo Nix is QB6. Jaden Daniels ends up being QB2 in his class. CJ Stroud, QB2. I mean, and on and on and on and on we go.
It's just the NFL has done such a good job of emphasizing how much the actual games matter, how much the actual play on the field matters. That's what we spend. That's what this show's about. what's happening on the field, what
right.
can happen on the field with these prospects. Like, you kind of have built the perfect system where it falls in a way where, you know, that's the conversation even throughout the draft. We don't have to talk about draft conspiracies or any of this nonsense because it's just a set order where the worst teams just have to get the top draft picks. And then we see this level of parity constantly work out where at the end of the day, it actually ends up kind of benefiting these teams. I mean, of course, you have your, you know, your Browns, your Lions. I'm just saying historically, like, you know, your Raiders, you know, teams who can't get out of their own way, it seems. But largely, the system works. Like, that's my biggest takeaway is honestly, the system works. Why would you want to fix or try and fix something that's not broken? Like, it just makes no sense.
Especially, again, because it's one of the best things in sports.
Facts.
Like, people love the draft. There's no reason to make a change. And I think part of it is, like in the NBA, stopping tanking makes sense because teams know mid-December, like, oh, we're 5-20 or whatever. This is going to be a long year.
Well,
we might as well just tank the rest of the way. We got to get rid of all of our players. Like, it's so easy just to like switch those guys out and say like, oh, we're just bad now and we're going to live with it. And so you wind up with just 2 months, 3 months of tanking where every night they show up and they just suck. Having a lottery that kind of gets rid of that and makes the difference between like, oh, we lost 20 games. Oh, we lost 22 games. Guess what? We got the same odds for the pick. We don't need to be all out trying to lose every one of these games. In the NFL, mid-season, most teams are still trying to be competitive. Like, there might be a couple that are 2-6 and they're like, it's over. But some of them are like the Bengals or the Dolphins who then all of a sudden say like, hey, we can go on a run. And there's a couple who wind up at the bottom. This year was an outlier because there were just so many bad teams. It was just very spread out. But for the most part, you've got 5 teams a year who win like 5 games or maybe less. You typically don't have like 10 teams under 7 wins. And so just the number of games that NFL teams have to really tank when they realize how bad they are, it's just so small. It just doesn't matter.
And that's the other thing.
And they don't really tank.
Exactly. No one tanks in the NFL.
Yeah.
The one team that did do it was the Cleveland Browns when they won 1 game over 2 years, right?
Right.
And theoretically, it did work. But did it? Because they ended up trading Baker Mayfield away, and the organization is not in a much better spot at all.
You had suck for luck back in the day.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you remember instances of NFL teams tanking because it's so rare.
Well, and this year, I mean, Gerard Mayo's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
He benches Drake May in the final week, and Joe Milton wins them that game. You know, like they would have had the first overall pick. They were set up to have that.
That's the other thing.
He won that one at the
right.
It's impossible to tank in the NFL because of that.
And
factor.
they wound up with CJ Stroud instead.
That would have been Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Potentially. Yeah.
Because Joe Milton's exists, it's impossible to tank. Like, that guy's out there competing for a job to go compete and show that, you know, I can go help another team. I'm not just going to be Drake May's career backup basically over here. And what do you know? He gets traded this offseason, of course, right?
Yep.
Tell a linebacker, tell a middle, someone had a tweet about this. Tell a middle linebacker we're tanking. A guy who
doesn't work.
No, his lifestyle, his play style is based on collisions, going 110% all the time, fighting for every blade of grass. That's just how you get hurt when you tell that guy, okay, can you like not go as hard? Like, and then you have a real disaster on your hands.
Yeah. And I think if we weren't having this conversation and I asked you to list like just in order the biggest problems in the NFL, we'd be going a long time before you mentioned like, you know what, there's too much tanking.
For sure.
Because it just isn't a problem. And it was in the NBA before, but you know, you think back to like the 76ers and all that stuff. But at this point, when they have the lottery set up the way that it is, where the 3 worst teams all have the same chance of getting the first pick, you have the play-in that keeps more teams engaged. Like, it doesn't really feel like they have much of an issue either. Like, each team or each league is different. And obviously what the NFL is doing is working far, far, far better than what any other league is doing.
Clearly.
Yeah, no, they definitely have some major issues in the NFL, I think. Not one of them is tanking. Not one of them is related to anything like that. Like, not one. It would be fun, though, to look at what the draft order would be if
It'd
the
be crazy.
NBA Lotto craziness was applied. So Hank and I have done some research, and we'll give you that. We'll talk about that on the other side. But first, a shout out to our great friends at Bet365, the greatest betting app in the land, the official partner of the Nuggets, Avalanche, and DNVR. Hank, what we got tonight? I know you're always in on the Nuggets bets.
So the tough part is I've been going with the Jamal to score 20, CB to score 10, and the Nuggets to win. Because both of those are like slightly minus money, both favored. And then with the Nuggets being plus money, most games go with that. But with Jamal being questionable for now. I'm at a loss at the moment. It's going to wind up being a money line bet on the Nuggets for sure, but I'm just not really sure when to place it.
I think that's kind of the play is the money line. They've basically been underdogs for like 90% of the games in this series.
Backs against the wall game.
That's backs against the wall, home game 6.
If you're feeling like a sicko, you could take the Thunder to win and Nicole to score 40 at 15-1 odds.
Wow, that's low-key maybe a genius bet.
Yeah.
I'm not doing my bets show today. We will see you on Friday for a weekend preview because, yes, I believe Game 7 is coming. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. First off, use our code BET365. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet 5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code DNVR at Bet365, DNVR365. Deposit $10 and place a bet of $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, win, lose, or draw. Bonus bets can be used on the spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. You name it, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Month fees 21 plus. Physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And also a shout out to our friends at Toyota. Toyota trucks, SUVs, part of their DNA. Such a phenomenal partner. Such a phenomenal car. Great family car. Great outdoor weather car. Great Colorado car. Car to get out and get lost. Enough of this traffic. This traffic is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
My commute going home was absurd. Nothing but construction every single time.
Oh, it's a nightmare right now.
Then look at that.
Wow.
Drive to the playoffs, enter the win, playoff tickets, sweet tickets fly away. Yeah, Toyota 4Runner right there. Check it out. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial. Corwin Toyota in Boulder. Groove Toyota in Littleton. Mountain States Toyota in Denver. Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora. And Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places. Okay, folks. Hank, if the Cooper flag lotto was applied to this year's draft, the Jahdae Barron draft, who would have ended up with the first pick?
Well, things would get pretty crazy. I had to sign up for the drive to the playoffs. The 49ers would have the number 1 pick in this draft. They have the same ranking.
Talk about rigged, huh, Jake?
No, yeah, we can't let this happen.
But what would they do? Would that be?
They'd take Cam Ward.
You think so?
I think so.
To move on from Brock?
Of course.
They are edge obsessed,
course.
so pairing Abdul Carter with Nick Bosa.
I mean, but from a financial standpoint, that's the best move. You arguably get an upgrade at quarterback for a cheaper price.
It does improve the rest of your team so nicely.
In any other year, I would be. It's like obvious quarterback. Caleb Williams,
yeah, like Caleb Williams, no brainer.
Cam Ward, though, I'm not sure he moves the needle for me. And I'm on team like don't pay Brock Purdy, just trade him and go with somebody else. I mean, that ship has sailed now that we're past the draft, but
it'd make it very interesting. But from a financial standpoint, that's the right move, I think.
Probably.
For sure.
And I mean, if you were, you also have the opportunity to trade the pick.
I mean,
but
who would have been picks 2 and 3?
Well, after them would be the Panthers, which you hear that and you're like, that makes sense. But
8-2.
8-2,
and they get Travis Hunter.
Yep. And then you'd have...
Or Abdul Carter. They went double edge in day 2. They could have got Carter and got the wide receivers on day 2 instead.
Then the Jags would be 3, move from 5 to 3. And then you have the Giants go 3 to 4, Titans 1 to 5, and then you're basically in order the rest of the way. Browns 2 to 6 would sting.
Where'd the Patriots end up?
Pats would be 7. They'd go from 4 to 7.
So the Pats really got screwed.
Oh, the Titans would be completely screwed.
Titans would be the most screwed.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I do kind of like that. Would be fun to screw over those teams.
I mean, when you see the Jazz go home sad because they had thought they were getting Cooper Flag, like
they've never moved up.
I know
in the draft lottery. That is insane.
Yeah, it's nuts.
See, number 1 in my life is the fandom of my teams, Nuggets. But then it's the hatred pretty closely behind for all of the other teams. Mm-hmm. And so even like the Jazz in particular, it's easy to hate. But even just take a random like Charlotte. no reason to not. If Charlotte fans were sad because something horrible happened, I would enjoy that. And that aspect of the lottery would be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
Watching like Titans fans who I have nothing against, but all of them cry like.
Watching the Browns fans just keep on losing a lottery and just seeing them just crash out every single year.
Yeah, that would be rough.
Yep.
Raiders, we would go crazy over a Raiders incredible. Yearly crash out.
You know where it would have been exhilarating is in the Caleb Williams Bo Nix draft.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I ran that. The Panthers, who obviously the Bears had that pick.
Yeah.
6th.
Oh, wow.
And the Bears with their natural pick, the Romo Dunze, 7th. The Giants ended up 1st. So rather than getting Malik Neighbors at 4, they would have gotten Caleb. The Browns were at 2.
So they get Daniels or May.
Yep.
Who had the Browns pick in that draft? I'm struggling to figure that part out.
Did they trade?
Was it a tackle?
They didn't have a first rounder period. It probably was owned by the Texans, who then
definitely
themselves flipped that pick. Because neither Texans nor
the Browns didn't have that pick.
Was that how the Vikings got up?
The Vikings would add the 3rd pick.
Oh wow!
So instead of J.J. McCarthy in that move up to 11,
they get Mayor Daniels in.
Mayor Daniels. And who knows who KOC would have gone after.
Yeah.
And you don't have the Sam Darnold breakout. Talk about sliding doors, Jake.
Yeah, no joke.
Also, we did an amazing sliding doors segment. We're doing that again this week. That was part of our review segment, no?
For
sliding doors? Or was that our draft recap? Did we do the sliding doors?
We did that on the Broncos show on Friday.
Oh, right. Yeah. Dude, electric Broncos show Jake and I did, Hank.
Wow.
I'll tell you my biggest sliding door moment later. You'll like it. You were a big supporter of this.
I think we'd have to explain what sliding doors is to Hank.
It'd be a quick combo.
I could imagine.
The Titans who got J.C. Latham at 7 would have been up to 4. So they basically get the Daniels or May guy who wasn't selected by the Vikings.
Penix, JJ, or...
Yep.
Oh.
The Jets would have moved up to 5 instead of getting Fashanu outside the top 10.
Yeah.
The Panthers 6, Bears 7, Raiders 8, Falcons 9, so right in the same area to get Penix. The Broncos would have been pick 11 rather than pick 12.
They're not getting Bo.
You don't think so?
If that's the case and you mix up... Because teams had to trade up in that draft to get quarterbacks. Didn't they?
Well, just the Vikings who traded up 1 spot.
So then,
the
then the wild card would... Where's Atlanta in this? Because no one expected them to take Penix.
Atlanta's 9 instead of 8.
So then, it could have shook out the way it did for them.
Uh-huh. And the Raiders moved all the way up to 8 instead of 13. So maybe instead of Brock Bowers, they get the quarterback, and that's where Bo comes into play. It's an interesting one. I simulated the last 5 years.
Did the Broncos ever end up winning?
No.
Of course not.
And
they didn't really have many picks.
No, the only other draft where this was relevant was the that Seahawks pick through the Russ trade where they got Devon Witherspoon.
Oh.
Wasn't that after the Charles Cross year?
I guess they got both those picks.
Yeah.
And instead of being 9th, they were 12th.
Okay.
So again, the teams who traded, it really would have benefited the Panthers in that Caleb Williams pick trade. It would have benefited the Broncos a little bit in that Russ trade.
Mm-hmm.
Titans would have been winners if it shook out that way the year before then.
Which is crazy to think they got the 1 pick the next year, but they would have been better up moving up from 7 to 4 the year prior than losing out on having the first overall pick.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's strange. A trade-off you would have taken.
Yes.
That's the other thing is if you wanted to do a lottery in the NFL, you almost would need a separate draft for quarterbacks.
Yeah, they'd all be lottery picks, especially if teams move up who are the 49ers.
You would almost need a separate draft.
The 49ers would probably trade down. That's probably the reason why it works so well is because teams with good quarterbacks so rarely are in the top 3. So you need a quarterback, so the quarterbacks go. It would create a lot of chaos, though.
It would.
The more I think about it, the more I think the 49ers trade down at least a couple picks. Maybe just one.
But
unless they want Cam Ward.
That's why Jake is saying you'd go quarterback, because the effects of going quarterback are the same as trading down, only way more exponential. The possibilities cap-wise it opens up are far greater than the possibilities that trading down opens up by just adding a couple day 2 picks or future picks. You know,
they hit their floor last year with 7 wins. I feel like you're just tearing the floor out from there, though. Like you're raising the ceiling for sure, because Cam Ward could obviously be better than Brock Purdy, but that'd just be such a massive risk to say we're moving on with Cam Ward.
Yeah. I don't know if the Niners would feel that way, though, because they're still talking up Mac Jones right now, like they were 3 years ago in that draft. They're saying, I can't remember who said it, but someone from there said that he could be a starting quarterback in this league. Crazy.
That's so funny. That's great.
Just reading the tea leaves. I mean, I don't think they're really rushing to the table to pay Brock Purdy.
As they shouldn't.
No.
Brock Purdy just has an aura to him of like someone who gets walked all over all the time.
Yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Poor guy.
Sad. Let's take a quick break and get into these running backs and stuff. Fun exercise.
Yes.
It makes for 2 good podcast segments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not an actual league change that we should control.
No. God, no.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
No, it's a great what if.
Yep. Also, abolish the MLB lottery, man. It stinks. Don't do it.
Get rid of all draft lotteries.
The NBA, I kind of get it, though, man.
Yeah. They had such it gets rid of the tanking problem.
Why does it work for the NBA?
You can just shut it down like with 20 games remaining in the season.
Yeah. And then you just want to, again, it's like a
and
month
it's
of just
really lame. And it's not like that the players aren't competing. It's just like, oh, your star player has a like nagging wrist injury. We're just going to shut you down.
That's true.
You know, like it's because it's just like 9-guy rotations.
Yeah.
It's real. Like you can compromise your team like that.
That's why it's impossible to do it in the NFL. You can't get 53, 45 guys on the same page for that.
100%.
Yeah. Like you try to shut down like 6 guys, that would take a crazy effort.
Yeah.
No, you bench the starting quarterback, the rest of the team goes, oh, they don't believe in us. We're just going to play harder now to show that.
Also, I think the Dolphins need far greater repercussions for literally trying to get their head coach to tank.
Yeah.
Now that we've talked through all this, the Brian Flores stuff is insane.
It is insane.
The fact that the Browns were just accepted for doing it a few years ago, I mean, they had clearly the worst roster in the NFL those 2 years. Like, that was like malpractice.
Yeah. A few of the early 2020 lottos I simulated, Lions really would have come out gangbusters.
They wouldn't have done anything with it back then.
They wouldn't have had Jared Goff at quarterback, I can tell you that much. Like, I think they moved up to 2 in the Burrow draft. And as you remember, the Burrow draft,
Mac Jones, Justin Fields.
to Justin Herbert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So probably Chase Young doesn't go number 2 overall. Let's take a quick break, as I said, and we'll get into this on the other side.
Justin Herbert feels like a lion.
Dude, he truly is. Speaking of Lions, fire up that Game Time app for me, Hank.
Yes.
Let's see what playoff tickets for the Nuggets tonight would get you. You guys know about the Game Time app. They're an OG app. They are fantastic. They're what I use to go to any and all games. I mean, how could you not? The app is fantastic. Their customer service, amazing. Anytime there's an issue, bang, bang. The last second tickets, the lowest price guaranteed.
Yep.
They handle that for you like it's nothing. And then they've got all sorts of other cool features, they've got curated deals for you to make it easier. The super deal, seat views before you buy. And when you sign up, you can get $20 off on your first purchase, which is also an outstanding deal, using our code DNVR. What can you get through the door for Game 6 on, Hank?
105.
105.
Not bad at all.
I swear I did this segment a couple days ago. They were 118.
I believe it.
They just keep going down, 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 which like it shouldn't happen.
Game Time figured it out though.
I don't understand it, but Game Time's amazing. Anytime I use them with like friends or, I mean, I'm a dad, so sometimes it's like parents of my kids' friends. I look like I'm an insider, but I'm just a normal Game Time user. It's like, I don't have a hookup on tickets. I just use the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. And want to talk to you about UC Health. DNVR Broncos is brought to you by UC Health, the preferred partner of athletes in Colorado. For inspiring health stories, go to uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, live extraordinary. And also want to remind you that we have a fire sale on merch going on right now. Store.allcitynetwork.com, up to 75% off. Lots of stuff. 30% off, 44% off. I was seeing the amazing Nick Bonito shirt I have.
Yeah.
16-bit where he's holding his crotch, driving into the end zone. That's like down to $25, I think. Casa
Steal.
Bonito, same thing. We've got some bundles on like the Heisman merch. That's like up to 60% off.
We'll get that stuff.
Hats I was seeing like almost 50% off, like $19.99 they're coming. Okay. Nowadays, you know how they're robbing us on hats.
Oh, yeah.
Hats are like $40.
This was 40, yeah.
That's a nice hat though.
Thank you. That's why I
Banger.
spent it, but still.
But you could get 2 DNVR hats at the price of Henry's hats. So
True. Just need a second head.
just something to consider. Would have been a good selection for the Little Things in Life draft. Second head.
Yeah. Just can't say I've experienced it.
Not to draw out
No,
the last segment more because we gotta get to running backs. But this Caleb stuff that came out today makes the whole lottery combo kind of fascinating too. Because I mean, he could have. It'd be way easier to play a lottery to your hands, I think, in that position than it would be.
Why didn't he just Eli Manning it, is my question.
I don't think
Like
he has
this-
that pull. He doesn't have a dad. That's,
Brother, everyone has that pull.
but he doesn't have the arch that is the Archie that has all these league connections, that has like the history in the league that people will listen to on his side.
Shit, he made a lot of money in college. You'd think
I
that'd
mean,
give him
shit.
some sort of leverage and power.
And after we saw what happened to Shador, who's to say that the NFL doesn't blackball him last year too, if that's the case?
Fair enough. Fair enough. The NFL, they do love to blackball. Shouts to those guys. Okay. Running backs. We have the top 10 in order. Back-to-back AFC West picks. Ashton Genty, O'Marion Hampton. I think no surprises there. Quinshon Judkins being the third running back. Probably a bit of a surprise. Though I was saying all along, Judkins, Hampton, for me, neck and neck. So felt vindicated by that. Travion Henderson is the fourth back taken. And RJ Harvey is RB5, rounding out the top 2 rounds. We only have one third-round running back, Caleb Johnson, who drops further than I think most analysts thought. And then there's a bit of a run in the 4th round with Bashal Tootin, RB7, Cam Scattaboo, RB8. The Scat Leavers vindicated by that one. And then Trevor Etienne, Woody Marks close out RBs 9 and 10. That is the top of the class there for you. Biggest things that stood out to you, trends from the group. Where did this class fall off? Your takeaways from this?
I think it all, especially at the top, it all made sense. Like, I think by the end, Genty being a top 10 pick was pretty much a lock. Hampton somewhere in the 20s made a lot of sense. Judkins and Henderson, a lot of discussion about the order. I think I would have expected Henderson to go first. They're within 3 picks of each other at the top of the 2nd round, probably where they belong. And then you have a 22 pick wait before the next running back. I think all of that was about as close to chalk as you're going to find in a draft.
Yeah. It's the return of the bell cow. We've kind of seen it over the last few years. I mean, I guess Saquon was really the one that really started that when he went 2nd overall to the Giants in that draft.
Yeah.
But of course, Genty going top 6. that fits the exact same archetype. Omarion Hampton too, well-rounded, kind of complete back.
Judkins
and
as well.
Judkins as well. I mean, this is the conversation that we had around Travion Henderson coming into this draft, right? Can he do everything? Of course, he's a plus pass protector, plus speed, plus pass catcher, plus big playability, but you worry, I think, about maybe the down-to-down stuff compared to some of the other guys, which is why RJ Harvey goes right after him. Can kind of do everything for you.
I mean, the six backs drafted in the top 100 in the first three rounds, 5 of the 6 are bell cows.
Yep.
And then there's Travion Henderson, who in some sense has been a bell cow at times.
Sure.
And also was like the most complete and safest third down back that we've seen in a minute with his pass pro and his receiving ability.
And then Caleb Johnson falls because, you have questions about third down. Can he be a pass catcher for you?
Yeah.
That's my big takeaway from this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a theme with most of these classes is like size matters, and the NFL just values size in ways that I don't think the media always does. I think the media always gets a little more caught up in production and speed, just guys who look flashy in college. And the college game is way different, right? I mean, especially the way the college game has evolved over the last 10 years. And then the NFL kind of corrects for the guys that fit their mold the most. And I think that's my biggest takeaway from this class. I'm also surprised. Like, I know there were a few more drafted running backs than on average, let's say. Not that many more.
Yep. That's yeah.
Like, a couple more. Not a ton. And then I'm surprised that Marcus Yarns went undrafted, that my guy Rocket Sanders went undrafted. What are we doing? And the Chargers get him in free agency? Disgusting.
Damian Martinez in the 7th round.
Right. Marcus Yarns, Delaware, also undrafted. Nice pickup from the Saints on that one. I mean, day 3, the run really started in round 4, where we saw, 2 of the first 3 picks in the round are running backs. And then we have 6 running backs drafted total in round 4. Stick that under your cap for next year.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like the run kind of starts every year. I just told you, as many running backs were drafted in the 4th round as there were drafted total in the first 3 rounds.
And that's what really surprised me. I think you have those top 4 go in the top, 38 picks or so.
Yep.
And then 22 picks later, the Broncos take RJ Harvey. And I thought that's where the run was going to start. I thought that from the late 2nd all the way through the 3rd. I thought earlier in the 2nd, they'd keep going. So I was surprised when it took till the Broncos to take that number 5. And I was even more surprised that there was only 1 running back taken in the next 43 picks after that.
Yeah.
Like the fact that that 3rd round wasn't packed with running backs.
Yep.
Like if you had told me there's 1 running back gone in the 3rd round, I would have said, oh, so there are 8 gone in the first 2 rounds.
Right.
But that is not at all what happened.
Well,
and so have that huge gap, and then day 3 they just all go. Really shocking.
I agree completely. Doesn't reflect how hyped we were on this class, certainly. And it's
Is it
also
just
like
because of the depth?
the top 4 go in the first 40 picks. And there's only 2 more drafted in the next 60 picks.
Yeah.
I think
not
that
at all what
crazy.
you expected. And say what you will about RJ Harvey, but with Caleb Johnson, 2 outliers in those next 60 picks.
Yeah.
Yep.
No teams were really all that high on these other running backs.
Yep.
I think Hank's right. It's partly depth, of this class. I think teams realize, well, we can just wait. The run hasn't started yet, and even when the run kind of did start on day 3, you got good value, I think, later in this draft. Damian Martinez, our guy from SMU.
Rashard
Smith went in the 7th round. Kyle Munnin a guy that you really liked, goes in the 7th round. So I think, and it's the value of the position. The NFL's been telling us about this for a while. My big takeaway is the return of the bell cow back. If you don't project as a true bell cow back, I think it's hard for the NFL to reason to take you with a premium selection.
It's a fine line. You're either a guy we can really ride, or it's like yeah, you're one of 4 or 5. And guess what? The world is full of guys like you.
Yep.
Like they are a dime a dozen.
Yep.
Every NFL team has about 6 on their roster and taxi squad
Yep.
combined.
Tyler
it's
Bidet
like-
gets a couple games. You're like, oh my goodness, the Broncos have something.
Right.
Like that's just another one of those 5th, 6th round
Yeah.
picks who it's like, yeah, there's something there.
Yeah.
But I mean, running back, you either have somebody special or it's going to be really easy to find somebody who, can do the job.
Yeah. It's the old war analogy, like above replacement, you are valuable. If you're kind of replacement level, another word to say that would be average.
Mid for the kids.
Mid for the kids,
Very
no
good at
doubt.
best.
Your value decreases quite a bit. Favorite fit of this class? Favorite pick?
There's so many. Caleb Johnson to the Steelers is.
You think that's a good one?
I think
I agree with
that's
that.
better. Najee
Do
Harris. Yeah, I think they upgraded on Najee. I think that's it's just stylistically what they're all about.
Yeah, that's when I struggle with. I think with their issues at quarterback and the O-line,
That's a good point too.
a guy like Caleb will have trouble finding daylight.
Okay.
And those stop and start runs are his biggest struggle. And I worry he might end up a lot like Najee without giving you the receiving ability. And what's
True.
Najee without the receiving ability?
True.
Very
Yeah.
mid back.
Older Audric Estime? Like, I don't know.
But also, if you're the Steelers, like the plan isn't to be bad on offense. The plan.
Are we sure about that though?
No, the plan has to be for them to like be functional, and they have to realize like if we're ever going to like turn into an actual football team and not like a gimmick, like hey, we're gonna keep you to 12 points enough times that we're gonna sneak into the playoffs. Like they know how this team needs to be built, and maybe that means that it takes a year or two, but you have to imagine that at some point the investment in the trenches is coming. Because that's the only way for them to actually be functional as a franchise.
Where's the investment at quarterback too? I mean,
Also true. Yeah.
they completely neglected the position. I mean, they get Will Howard, sure, but if you're counting on a day 3 guy to compete for the starter,
It's Aaron Rodgers or bust.
has to be. Which again that's a whole other can of worms.
Do you guys ever, when you guys think of Will Howard, do you guys think of that tweet when I forget who the College Football Insider was when they announced the Will Howard signing? They were like, Ohio State like definitively picked Will Howard, and then someone
yeah.
quote tweeted that with a photo of Ryan Day on the phone and captioned it with like, and I want you to type it out exactly like this. Shows him.
Yep.
He's bad though. He's not a good quarterback.
He was fine
Yeah.
at Ohio State when he's surrounded by the
Yeah.
best receiving core in the country, 2 second-round backs, multiple first-round picks up front, not to mention one of, if not the best defense in college football last season. That's just not the case in Pittsburgh. Not at all.
No, it certainly is not.
Favorite fits, though, RJ Harvey to the Broncos. And
Honestly, yeah.
It's kind of
I
why
mean-
I like Caleb Johnson, the Steelers. It's just the opportunity that is there for him. And just RJ Harvey's case here. I mean, probably the most glaring running back need in the NFL this last season was
Up
the Denver
there,
Broncos.
up
If not up there, as you said. And I mean, we've been going crazy about RJ Harvey the last couple of weeks. We've said enough, I think.
Yep. That's perfect.
It was perfect timing by you talking up that pick too. A little sliding doors. It sounds like the Jags were very much interested in RJ Harvey. Then got sniped. Then I've also heard that the Jags, who drafted Bashal Tutin, the Virginia Tech running back, who Hank won money on as being the fastest back at the combine.
I had Matthew Golden
40 times.
receiver.
Oh, you hit the receiver.
I had
Okay.
receiver.
I'm confusing that. My bad. Apparently, their young GM talked about drafting Bashal Tutin twice in interviews as like part of his plan to rebuild. So I'm surprised they would then wait for him to get there until top of the 4th. I guess that's the other, like Broncos, Jaguars. Everyone kind of was like, okay, we'll wait out our guy. Like we're
Yep.
not necessarily
Yeah.
going to press for it.
Yeah, even the Broncos traded down twice. That part kind of gets forgotten.
That's true. Yep.
100%.
Because again, like with Tutin, I would say going 7th among the running backs is a good result for him.
Sure.
Like you would have thought just because of how many different options there were in that range, like 10th might be more realistic. And so for the Jags to say like, hey, let's just kind of let this keep going. If one more guy goes, then sure, let's jump up and snag him. I think they played the board well.
And I mean, worth mentioning the guys who, like Leggy had mentioned at running back, that they might be interested. Henderson, obviously not available.
No,
Dylan
that's another great
Sampson,
fit.
ETN, LaQuint Allen, Cam Scattaboo. They passed on all those guys for RJ Harvey.
Travion Henderson to the Pats is another one. Like
Yeah.
I know it's a different era,
It's
and
a
you
nice
can't
one.
you can't compare it to like the Brady Patriots. But having that little receiving back who just makes things happen, like Rex Burkhead, James White, like they've had so many. I think for a young quarterback, giving Travion Henderson to whatever's Drake May is going to be huge for him.
No, I like that fit a lot too.
Also,
I like
the Browns
the Browns. I mean,
getting both those guys.
they're the only. Who else took 2?
So the Browns took 2, Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson. The Jags took 2, Bashal Tootin,
No.
LaQuint Allen,
Yep.
which is a 1-2 I'm quite intrigued by. The
it?
the Chargers
be.
get Rocket Sanders as an undrafted free agent, pairing him with Omarion.
Yep.
So you've got that combo.
So
I think that's it.
I
The
mean,
Cowboys get Jaden Blue, Phil Maffa.
okay.
They drafted both
He
those
was,
guys.
so, yeah.
But either way, I mean, we talked a lot about the Broncos. You got to get 2 of these guys. Obviously, that doesn't end up shaking out. The NFL,
Not even in undrafted free agency. Shocking.
No.
exactly,
Yeah.
and the NFL kind of backed that up too. I mean, again, I think the depth of this class might have just been slightly overrated from a media perspective, maybe from our perspective too.
Yeah.
Because the slide happened, the run on day 3 happened, but you just didn't see teams really doubling up, except for Cleveland. I mean, they got, I think, the best duo out of the teams that did duo up, but
It's a pretty crazy duo.
it's nice.
Especially like you move on from Nick Chubb and replace him with Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson. Like having 2 is nice, but the big thing is it's just like 2 rolls of the dice.
Yep.
Like those are both guys who, if they wind up being
I
Pro
love
Bowl
the
type
Sampson
backs,
fit.
it's you would not be surprised.
I love Sampson and that system
Yeah.
there. I also think Brashard Smith with the Chiefs is
Oh yeah, man.
could be a really tremendous joker back, third down
True.
back.
And even Omarion Hampton to the Chargers.
Oh, they're gonna get every
Harbaugh
single
with-
carry
yeah,
they can
I mean,
out of
that's
him.
Yep.
It's just so obvious.
His career may be over in 4 years, but yes,
Yep.
they will run him to the ground, no doubt. Ollie Gordon, interesting to see the Dolphins go against their speed demon strategy
Yeah.
and pair Jalen Wright, who they drafted last year, A-Chain. I think Mostert has moved on, right?
Yes, but they have
Um,
Alexander Madison as well.
Dang, crazy.
So when you play a scramble in golf, I know neither of you are big golfers. Like on the tee shots, a lot of the
we're
time,
tape guys.
yeah, exactly. You have like the guy who hits the ball like the least far go first. Just like, yeah, let's hit one in the fairway, and then we can all swing like as hard as we possibly can. Try to hit as far as we can. I feel like in some ways getting an Ollie Gordon is just like you're eating your vegetables. Like, let's go get the big guy who like when we need a big back, we got it, and then we can get back to every year just. Here's this crazy.
Sure.
Next year they get whoever the next Bashal Tootin is because those are the guys who really make things work for them.
I think the Damian Martinez fit is pretty interesting for the Seattle Seahawks as well.
Fantastic.
A lot of conversation about whether they're going to deal one of Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet, but I love Damian Martinez. I don't understand why he fell as far as he did.
I don't either. Though I think this class, like the last couple, there are a few bad transfer stories.
That
Like-
would make sense.
Martinez declaring post Oregon State. I don't know for certain, but I would bet that he would have gotten higher than where he ended up.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah, especially again, the ACC just wasn't very good either.
no.
So it's not like if he had gone to the SEC and put up those numbers, you're like, okay, he's playing real man
Yeah.
football. It's not like he's playing great defenses out there.
Yeah.
So like the Oregon State Miami thing, it doesn't move the needle.
They're both like teams ranked in the 20s.
Exactly.
And yeah, if you watched Oregon State, you would have seen their star right tackle and Damian Martinez and maybe a star tight end.
Totally.
If you watch Miami, it's like,
Yep.
Cam Ward doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
Xavier Restrepo running open. Elijah Arroyo flashes once in a while, and
Yep.
like the O-line's a little sketchy. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it was a weird experience.
It's a weird situation where he probably would have benefited more from not transferring because
Yes.
he would have been featured on a
Yes.
team who would have more, shown off his skill set. He wouldn't have been, the third or fourth byline on this Miami Hurricanes, who was really the talk of college football for a while this last season. But another one that I'm intrigued by, DJ Giddens going to Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor has not been healthy, has been struggling to stay healthy for a minute. They bring in Khalil Herbert. It just seems like a DJ Giddens, all he needs is that one opportunity, and it's over for him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm most intrigued by a lot of these running backs entering a Shanahan system. I was raised on it, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
Like I grew up watching Outside Zone in Kyle Shanahan's system. So I mean, yeah, the two guys drafted by the Browns, Jarquez Hunter to the Rams, man. I think McVay could, obviously there's Kyron Williams there, but McVay
And
could turn
Blake
this
Corum, too.
guy.
Yeah, they took Blake
into,
Corum
Yeah,
last year, I think.
Anytime the Niners draft a running back in Jordan James, I'm always interested at least.
Mm-hmm.
Callahan's a disciple, no? In
I
Tennessee?
believe so. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
Through
yeah.
Zach
Browns?
Taylor, right?
Yeah, he could. Yeah,
Bengals, that's right.
yes. You're right.
Who's?
No, I think that's
Oh, and
right.
Taylor is McVay's tree.
Yes.
Yes.
You're
Okay,
right.
which is Shanahan's.
Yeah,
tree.
you're right.
Okay, so them getting Khalil Mullings to kind of shadow Tony Pollard, I think that could be very interesting.
They just, I have no, and gosh, schedule comes out and they have the Broncos first week. This team is just not
they're
set
doomed.
up to do
Man.
well.
They're doomed. What I'm less intrigued by is Taj Brooks to the Bengals. People kind of thought the Bengals might go after a running back pretty high. They only wait till the mid-6th, and the Texas Tech running back is who they come away with.
They're big Chase Brown fans.
Yeah, must
And
really
they might
like
be the only ones.
him and Zach Moss.
Guess so, yeah.
Which,
Not
like,
great.
I love Zach, like Pac-12 guy,
Totally.
but also,
No, I've moved on. I've moved on.
They
from
also
Zach.
signed Samaje Perine too, so that's your backfield there.
Oh,
Worst backfield in the NFL?
kicking it old school.
if you ask Mike Clay, it's the Broncos in
Really?
his projections. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, outside of RJ, I could see the argument.
Yeah. Ace Boogie and the Toyota chat saying he wouldn't have minded Rocket Sanders to the Broncos. Me too, my friend. Worth mentioning Travis Thies, who the chat was high on, did get a tryout. Do we know? I'm assuming they didn't sign him.
No.
Shoot. That's a bummer. We do have Caitlin Maximer in the Toyota chat asking, does the league have a salary cap affect the need for a draft lottery? How does that skew the tanking combo? It's a great question because I didn't want to mention, I think the NFL's biggest draft problem was the old
The
cap
rookie wage
system,
scale. Yep.
the rookie wage scale, the signing bonuses, to where you actually were kind of double. You had the first overall pick, and now you're paying Jamarcus Russell
He becomes like a top
Yeah.
three paid
Yes.
player on your team.
and top 10 in the league,
Yeah.
top 10
Yep.
at his position. And when that guy becomes a bust, you're in big trouble.
Yep.
Well, and that's
So that's what they had to fix, and I think they have. Now it's kind of skewed the draft to be maybe more valuable than they expected, but that's why implementing a lottery might only hurt that balance, not help it.
Yeah.
Yep. And those rookie contracts, that also, the flip side of that coin was that now you're in the situation where the quarterback market is as screwy as it is because the rookie quarterbacks are so cheap. And so, I mean, from the jump, that's what happened, because who was the first pick after they made the change? Cam
It
Newton.
was yeah.
It was Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then what happens? End of his rookie contract, he goes to a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And so, like, there'd always been like the trend of rookie contracts are the way to do it. But while you did wind up saving teams from the Jamarcus Russell effect, you also made it so that the teams who are actually paying their quarterbacks are a little bit screwed compared to the teams who are who have the cheap ones.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wrote about this a few years ago. Before Mahomes, I think Eli Manning was the only quarterback who was paid more than like 17% of his team's cap to win a Super Bowl. And of course, it was a Giants run, which we all know about, was
Right. Pretty
maybe
fluky.
driven by the defense or fluky, as you
Yeah.
would say. Before Mahomes has obviously done it because he's just Patrick Mahomes, but like
The only one, so it's 12.5%. The only winners are Mahomes and Brady. And the only other two who've even made it are Peyton Manning and Matt Ryan, actually.
Does Stafford count now, though?
Nope. Stafford, the year they won, was still getting paid enough by the Lions that his cap hit, and even Jalen Hurts this year signed the deal. His cap hit hasn't fallen. He got his like $13 million cap hit.
It makes sense why the Rams did all those moves at the deadline
Exactly,
that year then.
because they could afford it that year.
Again, why if you ever thought of draft legislation, you maybe would have to think of almost treating quarterbacks separately.
Yeah.
And paying them more to balance things out.
And
It's
then
crazy.
From a Broncos standpoint, too, they win in 2015 after Peyton Manning takes a pay cut, basically. Like,
Right.
Yep.
Well, and that's Brady did that over and over and over and over again.
Yep. And now you've got, I think it's 17 quarterbacks with an average salary that's over the 12.5%. So basically half the league is in that tier where you're just kind of stuck. Now you've gotten to the point where there are just so many of those that by chance you're going to have some figure it out and do it.
Yeah.
But still, the trend is the trend, and that's that you don't pay your quarterback if you want to win unless he's one of the best ever. Which hopefully Bo Nix is. Otherwise, the championship window is like
we have 3 years to
4
think
years.
about that.
No doubt. Do you think the Broncos sign a vet?
Running back?
Even if it's like waiting after the cuts on the third game of preseason?
Or a move. Like for the Seahawks, one of the Seahawks guys.
I'd be surprised if they have a new one before, other than like an undrafted guy they bring in or something like that. Any real significant move before
Another Tyler
cutdown day.
Bidet type signing. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, because in some ways that competition's pretty crowded. Like if you have Harvey as either 60% back or 40% back, you now have Estime and Jaleel are definitely competing for the other spot. Tyler Bidet probably is too, and we've all liked Blake Watson. So do you really want 5 guys in that competition for that spot? And so it kind of gets muddy. And that's also one where you can address it on cutdown day if you feel like you have to. At the trade deadline, that's when a bunch of these moves happen if things aren't working out. Right. It's just so easy to patch on the fly. It's not like patching a position and you hand them the ball and run.
I just feel like...
Would Najee be on the block pretty soon?
Jesus.
I don't think so.
That 1-year contract looks awful now.
Yeah.
We're going to go into the draft a year from now, and it's going to be the same needs we were talking about this season. Running back and wide receiver.
I think that, first of all, hopefully RJ Harvey's just really good.
Sure.
Yes.
You're
But
still
if
going to
not,
need someone, though.
I think at the trade deadline, that's where like Breece Hall, who's on an expiring contract, Kenneth Walker, who's on an expiring contract. I think if it's so bad that there's like we don't really have anybody, I think they'd do something crazy, assuming the team is good enough. Like they'd be willing to make like the Christian McCaffrey type move. Not that a guy like that's probably available this time, but similar to what the 49ers did to take him over the top. And if you wind up with Harvey's just solid, then you can patch it up with a second guy.
And you guys have been having the conversation more too recently of can Bo run more this year as well? And obviously that would help a little bit. You don't want him to run that much to where he, kind of changes a lot of that. He can help for sure, but
And I agree, but then we'll look at the numbers, and if you look, so top quarterbacks last year by rushing attempts, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Bo Nix.
Yeah,
like that's
there's not much
right
more
behind
room.
those guys is kind of where you'd expect.
Yeah,
and there's
true.
still probably room for another like 20, 30 carries if you really wanted to, 1 or 2 a game, which I wouldn't be against it. But look at the number, I was like, maybe you are kind of pushing it.
Yeah.
Where I'd make the addition is at fullback. Only one fullback drafted. End of the 5th round, Robbie Otis from Alabama. Seahawks after they drafted him ahead of Damian Martinez.
It's crazy.
Tells you where their priorities lie. That's all for us. We're going to keep doing this all summer long. Tune in every Thursday with us. Thank you so much to Hank, to Jake, and to Alyssa from Andre. We'll see you next week. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.